What is up, bros? This is Crash, one of the new All Bros. Caleb and Rose are out. I'm joined by DJ now. We're taking over. We're the new All Bros. That's it. They're done. They're fired.
They are fired. We've pruned them out of existence. We took our little pruning batons and sent them to the Loki realm, and that's it. We're in charge now. It's the new All Bros.
That's right.
It's a new age.
Oh yeah. Yeah. We put our differences aside. We're no longer enemies now. Our frenemies. We're the All Bros.
We are the All
the new bros.
Yeah.
as DJ put it.
So
shit.
What did the old ones do? Did they talk about like what movie they were going to talk about? I guess they already know from the title,
they
right?
Usually would, yeah, they kind of go off of the title, and then they mention it. I think the week before, if I remember correctly. But yeah, I don't know. We're just a couple of All Bros fans who love movies, who like to talk movies, and like a lot of bit of the nerd life. I think that's what they say. Something like that. I don't know.
Something like that. That's us.
Caleb will correct us. There we go.
Yeah, Caleb fixes in post. Yeah, I think that the thing we're going to do a little differently is this is going to be more of like we're going to get to know each other while you, the listener, get to know us respectively. And then we're going to break down a fun movie called Far From Home.
Yeah. So, I mean, we are I guess we're the more like consistent, what's it called? Guests on the show. So, I mean, they at least know us by our voice.
Yeah, I think Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was gonna say this is actually like our first time actually like seeing or meeting or talking to each other one-on-one, besides like a group message that we have with Caleb. So it's this is interesting. It's kind of cool, getting to finally meet, and like I was telling you, like put a face to the voice and stuff. Totally different face than what my brain had painted. The picture that my brain painted just from listening to your show, and also like listening to you as a guest when you're on here with the All Bros. So
it's funny because technically when you said that before we started rolling, I was like, well, we have seen each other, but that's not true. I just saw you on Instagram Live that one time and was like, yeah, we've seen each other. It's fine.
Yeah.
So I already knew. Because by the way, I thought like you sound like were you born and raised in California?
I was. This is interesting. Hold on. This is going to be interesting because I've never had anybody like, I don't know, critique, or not critique, but like, yeah, I guess critique my speech. So it's going to be interesting. I can't wait to hear what you have to say.
When you say like visions, I had a vision of like just a guy who was always either on a skateboard or a surfboard that was just in a permanent state of doing the shaka, that just I would peg you as the quintessential Californian. That's what I would have. That anything you would imagine as the stereotypical Californian, that's what I thought I was going to see. You were going to shred some gnar.
That's awesome.
You were going to have like long blonde hair maybe, and that's what I thought.
Let me help paint a picture for you listeners. I have dark hair. I am Hispanic, far from blonde. Let's see. I've stood up on a surfboard once. And then I ate shit right after. So yeah, I can't ride a skateboard to save my life. I don't like the feeling of the ground underneath me moving, but I'm like standing still, if that makes sense. Like it just does not work for me. I don't know. Like while I'm standing, I can drive a car, no problem, but it's
well, because it's so, listen, you could die at any moment, or even worse than dying, break all your bones. Like, that is what skateboarding is just an exercise in, am I going to die, or just not have to do, 6 months of rehabilitation? No.
Yep. Yeah. Exactly.
But this is. I was thinking of things. Go ahead. Sorry, I feel like there is just enough of a lag that I'm like, I'm ruining it. I'm sorry, I'm ruining it.
No, it's not. It's all right. I forgive you. No, I kind of feel it too. I kind of see it. I feel a little bit of a lag, so it might be on my part too. But no, I was gonna say the picture. I didn't expect your beard to be as big, and you know as yeah. No, it's a beautiful beard. It's immaculate. Is what it is. It's a neat, beautiful beard.
Hey,
I don't. You know what? I was kind of picturing maybe like a little bit of scruff right there. Not scruff, but just a little bit slightly shorter. Is this weird? I pictured kind of like a heavier set guy, like just kind of. I don't know what.
I love that you
why.
think that.
Just like
I am a heavier set guy, but I just don't. I don't present that way on camera, I guess. But can I tell you something else?
My camera takes off 10 pounds.
Exactly. So here's something else that people seem to be shocked by that have seen me, at least in this venue. How tall do you think I am?
Okay, this is cheating because I listened to Beth's episode, so I actually know how tall you are.
So I don't know, for whatever reason, people see me and they think I am humongously taller than I am.
No, and I can see that. I can see why they would think that. There's something about the room. I think it's like the shelf you got in the back or something that I'm like, oh, you know what? He looks like if he stood next to that, he'd be like kind of taller than that thing. And I think that's what it is. Because I would peg you as like 5'8", 5'9", maybe. But no, I know that you and I are actually about the same height.
Hey, for the listeners at home, I'm 5'3". Get it on.
All right, there you go. Yeah.
So, by the way, can I just tell you, I'm part of this, like, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, look at that. We got way more in common than we realized, from height. I don't know why we had this little ongoing rivalry going on with the All Bros for so long. We got so much in common.
Have you had this thing happen to you where people are like, it's because you're short. That's why you're angry right now. It's because you have small man syndrome.
Little man syndrome. Yep, I get that all the time.
Why can't you just
accused
suck?
of that. I got accused of that when I was a coach. I was a wrestler for like 10 plus years of my life, and then I coached it for a while. And one of the things I got a lot too was that I had little man syndrome. But what it was I was just a fucking coach. Like, I don't know, you gotta sometimes be heard and make people like respect your ass or something, man. Like, I don't know, it's not that I have little man syndrome.
Yeah, excuse me. That and people, I'm telling you, some people just suck, and instead of acknowledging that they're terrible, they're like, you're just mad because you're short. Like, I don't think so. I've been short my whole life, and I've come to terms with it. I don't think I need to. It seems to be a you problem. Like I started.
Yeah, have fun with your knee problems in the future.
Yeah, I'm gonna stay low and slow, and no one will catch me. I just started this role playing game with a couple of people one guy that I've known for like since we were kids, and another group of people that I have never met before, and we're like, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 games in, and there was at one point we started talking about getting into fights because one of the characters like got hit in the head with a bottle, and they were talking about like what the physics of that would be. Would you get knocked out? Would you get a concussion or whatever? And I started telling the story about how when I was in high school, I got hit in the head with a bottle, and it was crazy to see a 5'3" man like try and jump over like stairs to try and tackle the dude that had just hit me in the head. And like I would say like 20 minutes later, one of the guys was like, let me circle back to something. Did you say you were 5'3"? And I was like, yes. And he was like, that's just statistically just not likely that we would know a guy that's 5'3". And that's all he said. And I was just like, all right, cool, man. Thanks. I appreciate your observation. We're going to continue to play nerd games now. So I just thought that was very nice.
Oh, shit. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like you said, been short my whole life. I'm cool with it. You know, it's fine. It's whatever. I can still reach the top shelf in the house. It requires some step stools and climbing on the fucking, I don't know, the counters and shit. But I get there, okay? It doesn't matter how I get there as long as I get there. You know what I mean?
Can I tell you, I had to ask a 19-year-old at Walmart the last time I was there. I was like, hey, that thing is way far back and I can't reach it. Can you get it for me? And he didn't even get on his tippy toes. He just reached back and got it.
Can I I'm not trying to top that story, but can
Please.
I, like, at the risk of topping it, I had to ask a much taller woman at the store one time to get. Now, like, I'm all for, you know, gender equality and whatnot, but I just feel like it's not often that a man is like, "Excuse me, miss, but can you please reach that at the top shelf for me? I can't get that."
Can you pick me up so that I can reach it, please?
Right. What was funny was she did look at me. She was like, "Oh my gosh!" Like, I never had somebody ask me like to get something for them. I was like, "Well, you never met somebody that was fucking 5'4", you know." So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
So I gotta know.
Good times.
This is one of the questions I was thinking of. How did the nicknames Crash and Taz come about?
So my uncle that I do my show with, he is related to us by marriage. My aunt, so my dad's sister, he was married to my dad's sister. And he's one of those guys where, like, you're cool with him when he gives you a nickname. I met him. He came into our lives when I was about like 13 or so, maybe a little bit younger. But as I was getting older and starting to drive and stuff, I was actually like in multiple car accidents. Like, the first one should have killed me. Actually, the first one should have killed me. But that was his thing. Was he was like, "Man, you're always getting into these car accidents. I'm just gonna call you Crash," and it's just one that stuck. I didn't find any offense to it at all. I was just like, I like that. I like Crash. So, you know, he just always called me Crash from then on. And then Taz is just something that, as far as I know, a lot of his friends call him. He is part of like some dart leagues and stuff like that. So that's what gets put onto his, shirts and stuff whenever he's going to tournaments and stuff like that. So yeah, Taz, I'm not quite sure exactly the origins of his. I think that was one of those like more self-appointed nicknames that just happened to stick. But yeah, Crash was given to me because I was just in so many car accidents when I was younger.
Stop.
So. Yeah.
So how did you almost die? Like, was it how old were you and like what happened?
So I almost did not see the age of 17. Couple of friends and myself, we snuck out of our houses. One of them was old enough to drive. He had a car. We went up to these mountains that are around here, where we live. And it was like midnight. Couldn't see the edge, on the turnout. And, we thought we had more room. So as he was trying to turn back out onto the road, the two front tires went over that turnout and we fell about 500 feet off of that cliff.
Oh my God.
In that truck.
How did you? So what happened to you, all of you?
So one thing that was pretty consistent with that story is that I don't remember a lot of it. This is all what people have told me. Because when we went down, airbag went off and knocked me out cold. Which actually helped me because I went limp. So I didn't, my body didn't tense up. But we all had our seatbelts on, which was another thing that really helped out. Car caught fire on the way down, but me and the driver were in the front. of the cab, and then we had another friend. She was in the back. I was out unconscious, so my friend had to like break the seatbelt, drag me out, and then our friend, he had to drag her out. So, you know, there was some, and there still is to this day a little bit, you know, some of that like survivor's guilt technically, but I mean everybody survived, but like I walked away with a fractured ankle, 2 broken metatarsals, and like I don't know, I had to have like a surgery on my abdomen after because I had some like blood vessels or something that were damaged. I don't know what the heck. I can't remember exactly the terminology, but they did like exploratory surgery and I was fine. A few burns here and there. So I mean, like I walked away with virtually nothing, whereas the person that was stuck in there for a little bit longer, she had some pretty bad burns, but she's turned turned everything around. Like, you know, she does like she does like a lot of like camps for burnt victims, stuff like that. So really huge inspiration for me, especially. I know there were some times where like I was kind of in a dark place, and then like seeing how she turned her life around from that, like just man, I was like, I should not feel sorry for myself at all. Yeah.
I mean, listen, that's a crazy thing for all of you to have gone through. Like it's it's funny because I have a story that pales in comparison that I will not tell you right now because I should have told my story first. But the only similarity that I will
oranges here, man.
Dude, these are apples and oranges, okay? The only similarity is the only similarity is I got hit by a minivan. This everything was told to me. I was hit by a minivan when I was like 15 years old. I was crossing the street, but like the thing that I relate to is not remembering any of it, because if you ask me what happened, and tell me if this is similar for you, like if you ask me what happened that day, I got to the edge of the road, I walked across, but I'm seeing it all kind of like in like this weird third person, and as soon as my foot touches the sidewalk, that's where my memory of that event is over, but none of that happened.
Yeah So like for me, it was I had a good portion of like even prior to the actual fall that was kind of like lost to me for a while. And then like weeks and months and even years later, I was having like dreams of like that night. So some of it I think are memories. Some of them might even just be, you know, just imagining what people told me happened. I'm not sure exactly how much of it is real. I do remember I have like some very vague memories. I remember like my buddy that was driving, he had to help me pee because I couldn't stand up and I kept like falling in and out of consciousness. So he had to like pick me up while I'm peeing. And I vaguely remember him saying like, "Oh dude, you got some on me," or something like that. Like, you know, and I remember mentioning that to him and he's like, "Yeah, that happened." I was like, "Dude, I'm so sorry." Yeah, it was like, so there's some parts that are very fuzzy for me, but they're there. So yeah, I think one of the last things I remember before though was definitely I remember all three of us sitting in the back of the truck, like in the bed of the truck, and then we got inside, and then after that, kind of goes in, you know, in and out. And then I woke up in the hospital, you know, stuff like that.
So how did that change how you like drove and rode around with people for like the next, you know, couple months or years? Like, were you freaked out to be in a car, you know, or like for other people to drive, something like that?
I think no, not so much with other people. I mean, I'm a horrible passenger. Even when my girlfriend drives, like I'm holding on to the oh shit bar, you know, and she's a great driver. Like I'm just, you know, Same. I'm a horrible passenger though. But I think that was even before then. But one thing, so here in California, like we have a lot of freeways or highways, and where they connect, a lot of them, they're like big bridges where they kind of like, I don't know, they do this weird thing. I hate going on those. I avoid them if I can, because seeing the drop, I'm like, no, I'm good. I'll just I'll take the streets to the exit that I was trying to get to. Like, there's more than one way to get to where I'm going. Like, I'm good. So yeah, if I can avoid those, I do.
Yeah, I would imagine so. So is it like just car fear of heights, or is it just general fear of heights now? Like,
it's no, I have a general fear of heights now for sure. There's still things though I would love to try and do. Like, I would love to parasail or even do one of those badass squirrel suit things. But like, let's see, like bungee cording, anything like that, anything that involves a type of fall, I'm like, I'm good. I already did that.
Yeah, I did that.
I don't know.
I'm cool.
Yeah. Whatever. So yeah, now there's a little bit there, like that fear, but the fear of heights, I think I've always had that too. I mean, that's pretty much it. When I'm driving up to the mountains and stuff I am a lot more cautious. I try and stay as far away from the edge as possible, which, as I'm sure most people do, but ever since I started driving, I was always a cautious driver anyway,
So how did you, so that was the first crash you had ever been in?
That was the first one, and then I got my driver's license. I was heading back from a job interview at the age, I think I was like 18 or something like that. Maybe I was a little bit younger. Actually, I was younger because I was working there just before I graduated high school. I was heading back, and this guy, like, I'm driving, I'm heading straight, and this guy, like, sees me coming, and then he tries to beat me, like, on this turn. He turns right in front of me, and then he gets out of the car. He hit me, he totaled the car, and he was like, "Oh man, are you okay?" He's like this older guy. He's like, "Are you okay?" He's like, "Were you on your phone or anything?" I was like, "No, I was driving, guy. You just, I don't know why you thought you could make that turn." I mean, he was totally at fault after that. Like, they showed everything, like, with the reports and stuff. Like, he was at fault. They could tell by where my car was hit and everything. So, yeah, so that was the second one. And I think that's where my uncle was like, "Dude, you keep getting in all these crashes." I'm like, yeah, I know.
That's awesome, by the way, that you had even decided to do the show with you. Like, what was it that made you and your uncle start to do a podcast?
So I did another show that I called Tailgate Talks a while back, where it was me and one of my friends, Rosie. We would just talk about everything. We'd have, we would talk about like mental illness or stuff like that, experiences that we have. I definitely have work experience with working with people that, I'll say battle with mental illnesses and stuff like that, things like that. We'd have people on that show. But scheduling and stuff, life, just took us in different directions that we couldn't do it anymore. And so I had a little break from podcasting. My uncle, since I was younger, I remember I would watch a movie and he would walk by, and if it was on TV, he would just be like, "Oh, this is Pure Country," or "This is whatever movie." And he knows movies. He loves movies. And I was like, you know what? I just want to podcast again because it's fun. It's a great outlet for me. So I was like, hey, let's do a podcast. Let's talk about movies. And for a while, we just talked about them. Now we rate them a lot, like Caleb and Rose do on here.
Used to. How they used to do.
We're a little more.
Before we.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. How they used to. Yeah, we're taking over now. This is our show. So we, now we do that way. We actually like it a lot more this way, where we rate them. I always try and mention whenever I'm on their show. I always try and mention, we're a more vulgar. I feel like we're a little more vulgar. What's it called? Rendition of their show, kind of. We have no problem dropping F-bombs and whatnot. So, but if you're listening to this episode, you might hear a few because I don't give a fuck. I'm not Caleb or Rose. I'll drop them.
If your virgin ears cannot handle
that explicit rating.
So I think my only other question. Well, you said so. He just knew everything about movies, and you guys just one day were like, let's just do this.
Yeah, pretty much. And he's
this is happening.
My uncle is totally old school. Like, I mean, he's all cash kind of guy, you know, like, I'm helping him, you know, with a lot of his electronic stuff. So it's like, that's why a lot of times when I am guesting, it's usually me by myself, because I'd have to be there with him to like walk him through maybe, or make sure everything's set up right, so that all he has to do really is just be on there and ready to go. But like, yeah. So one day I will get him on with us. But so
yeah. Well, my only other question I had for you that I was thinking of today was, what was the first movie you ever remember seeing? Like, I take it back. What's the first movie you remember seeing in the theater? Because I feel like that's like usually like a special memory for people.
So hold on. I got to see what year this movie came out to kind of paint you a picture of how old I was. And let me see. Oh, Jesus Christ. This is going to be let's see. Okay. 97. So the first movie I remember seeing in theaters was Titanic. That came out in 97. I was about 5 years old. The only reason I remember it is because that was the first time I saw a boobie on a screen. And for some reason, I didn't know why my parents were like, cover your eyes. And I just remember doing the typical, like, hands over my eyes thing. And then, you know, yeah. And I was like, why do they want me to close my eyes? And then I look, and then I'm like, oh. What is that?
I became a man
and
at 5 years old today.
Exactly. And for that reason, I'm like, that's the first movie I remember ever seeing in a theater.
That's hilarious. Like, I only have two like really big memories of seeing a movie. The first movie I ever saw was An American Tail. It's that Fievel Mouskowitz. Okay. It's a cartoon movie. If you've never seen it, have you seen it?
I've seen that one. I love that movie.
Okay.
I have. Yeah, I actually really like that movie.
It's a great movie. But I remember I never ever went to see movie like that. Was fine. I went with my dad. I think it was just me and him in that movie. Like I can remember the theater, like being in there watching it. But the one I really, really remember, because I did not know what I was getting into, is my grandfather. My grandfather never came to the house, and never for sure wasn't like, get in the car, we're going to the movies. But this day he was like, get in the car, we're going to the movies. And we went to the movies, and he bought 2 tickets for Saving Private Ryan. And we watched Saving Private Ryan, and that was bananas, because I was for sure not ready to see that. And I'm just like sitting there watching these dudes just get murked all over and I'm like, what is happening? Why are we watching this? Like, I don't know. I gotta look right now. I don't know when that movie came out, because we definitely saw it like when it was still brand new in the theaters. And yeah, that kind of 98. That movie scarred me for life.
That's a graphic movie, man. That thing is graphic.
I want to say I was like 14, maybe 13, 14, 15, somewhere around there. I was not ready. I was not ready.
At 14, yeah. No. I don't think I definitely wasn't ready for what I saw. But I think even at 14, I wouldn't have been ready to see something like Saving Private Ryan. No. For sure. But you know what? I think I mean, I'm trying to think. I like Gladiator. I know I saw that when I was younger. That's the thing, is I feel like a lot of like gore, like movies started to get gorier and more graphic with that stuff around that time. So I just happened to be that age when these movie directors and even the film industry was starting to really push the envelope with that kind of stuff. And there you go. Then you have a 5-year-old seeing boobs on the big screen, or seeing somebody being chopped at the kneecaps. I don't know, like stuff like that. So I think
any kind of like gore, like if the gore isn't real, like I can watch the Saw movies and just watch those movies all the way through, because I'm like, this didn't happen. Like, this is just someone's crazy thoughts that are just on a movie. But something about seeing things like Saving Private Ryan, like it's just Like, I get it, man. Like, I'm not cut from that cloth. I am not that guy. Like, I wouldn't make it. And if I ever became a soldier, like, I don't need this.
Yeah, and that's exactly why, because you know that there's a lot of truth. And a lot of people, like veterans and stuff that have seen that movie, have said that is a very, very accurate, representation of how that all played out. And that's exactly why, is because you know that this is a movie that is based on truth. And yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm not cut from that same cloth. I think about those men and I'm like, man, I think if I was of that age or of age to be able to do that, I don't know.
Desert?
I would pray I'm more like Steve Rogers before the super soldier serum, you know, like.
Well, yeah, I mean, dude, I had a buddy that, like, after 9/11, what was it? I want to say I don't remember how soon after 9/11 he joined the military. He joined the army, but I remember where we were when me and him were out to eat when all of a sudden there was like breaking news that, hey, we're going to war, everybody. Mm-hmm. We're going over there. Don't even trip. If you're in the army, you're definitely for sure going to war right now. And I remember we were eating, it's funny, we were eating chicken wings at Hooters. And I remember looking at him and saying something along the lines of like, this is like the last good meal you're going to have, dude. Like, this is great. He ended up doing like 2 tours. Like but I'm not like, wow. I don't know. He told me not all about it, but he told me enough about it that I'm like, I wouldn't have made it. Like, if I had to go, you would have had to carry me through because I wouldn't have made it.
No, yeah, I'd be there with you. I'd be there with you. I think it's, you know, my hat goes off to them. Nothing but the utmost respect to those men that can do that. Men and women, I should say. Men and women that
women, not so much, but men, you got it under control. I'm just kidding.
Shit. And Caleb and Rose came back, and you never heard from Crash and TJ.
They were the ones with the pruning batons now.
Yeah. Shit. Man. So yeah.
That's it. I don't know, man.
All right, man.
No, unless you've got anything, do you want to move into our new movie? New movie? The movie?
The movie? Let's do it, man. Let's move into that new movie. Or that new movie.
Mm-hmm. And pause for the watcher to put in his music. And he's put in his music.
AKA Caleb. AKA Caleb.
Yeah.
Let's see here. All right. So, shit. Let me see. How do I want?
Oh yeah. Are you going to say the synopsis, or how do they do? Do you know what they normally use to say the synopsis? Is it Wikipedia
they use Wikipedia? I know that. Yeah, I know that. Rose uses Wikipedia. Let me see.
Where are you? You know, this is why they're the professionals, because I for sure knew that. And do I have the Wikipedia app pulled up? Absolutely not. Wikipedia.
I got it right here. Let's see.
Hey.
Kind of long, though. Holy crap. No wonder Rose trips over all this shit. There's so much to read.
I was going to say, if you're going to make me read, I'm going to be the new reading with Rose, because I am not a good out loud reader. I'll do it, though. I will give Rose a run for his money.
There you go. Reading with DJ, y'all.
Hold on, I've almost got it pulled up. Spiderman, 1970. So wait, is it? Hold on. Does he read the plot? No. Does he just read that?
That's what I thought, but I think it would have to be the plot, because
that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 paragraphs. That can't be right, guys. I say. Hold on.
I say we just read the first paragraph.
Far From Home. Watch this. Far From Home. Synopsis.
I think we'd be good with like the. There you go. The Google's machine has it all. You just got to be.
Can I tell you? It cuts it off. film synopsis. Can I just read you what it has, and then we'll put it.
Let's do it.
I'll read what I have here, and you fill in any blanks you think that I don't have here. Here we go. Peter Parker's relaxing European vacation takes an unexpected turn when Nick Fury shows up in his hotel room to recruit him for a mission. The world is in danger as 4 massive elemental creatures, each representing earth, air, water, and fire, not the Avatar though, emerge from a hole torn in the universe. Parker soon finds himself donning the Spiderman ... I'm going to say suit. And then after that, he wins because he's Spider-Man. But then, oops, J. Jonah Jameson comes in and is like, guess who he is? And that's the synopsis.
You know, that's not a bad synopsis right there. That's pretty accurate.
I would say so.
I'll say this. I'll say one thing that I would add is we do got the main villain Mysterio in here.
Yes.
Who does kind of make up this elaborate story that, you know, to out Peter as Spider-Man. So I think I'll just add that to it, and then cue J. Jonah Jameson and everything else that DJ just said.
.net. By the way, how great was it that he was the DailyBugle.net?
I remember seeing that movie in theaters, and I yelled. I mean, you would have thought that I was like a giddy, I don't know, teenage girl, because I was like, oh my gosh, it's J. Jonah Jameson. It's J.K. Simmons.
Let me ask you this.
Like, I was...
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No. It's the lag, but you're good. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, how many times have you seen this movie? Because I didn't realize until I was watching it again that I only saw it in theaters, and this was only my second time watching it.
Okay, so I say this shamelessly. I saw it in theaters 4 times. I have seen it countless times when it was available on, what was that? I think it was HBO Max, or maybe it was... No, I think it was Prime that it was available on for a while. Yeah. And then I would borrow it from my uncle from time to time and watch it there. So, like on DVD and all, or Blu-ray and all that stuff, I'm not quite sure how many times, but for sure I saw it 4 times in theaters. And actually, we're going to be breaking down this show on Crash and Taz Movies, or this film on Crash and Taz Movie Cellar this week, per suggestion by Donnie over at Adulting with Donnie. So I've seen it more times than I'm sure the average human.
You know what's funny is that is me and The Matrix, like the first Matrix movie. Like, I've seen that movie so many times, it's stupid to even count at this point. Like, it's a lot. Like, that's all anybody needs to know.
Yeah.
Too many.
I'm that obnoxious person that nobody likes to watch Harry Potter, Lord of the Rings, any of the 3 Lord of the Rings movies. I'll say the lines, you know, just because how many times I've seen it. I put those movies and the Marvel movies on for background noise if I'm doing something, cleaning, working on a project or something, because I've seen them so many times. I don't need to see what scene they're on. I just need to hear what they're saying and the pictures in my head. So yeah, I'm yeah.
So
yeah.
Normally we would start with story, but I have a question for you. Like, did you, because I failed us, just as a peek behind the curtain, everybody. I failed, and I did not actually pre-write any of my scores, so nobody knows them. They're going to be a surprise to everyone as you hear them. But one thing that always confuses me, and I forgot. Go ahead.
I kind of have an idea. What I'm going to do is I'm going to write down our collective scores, and then I'm just going to send them to Caleb, and I'll let him do the math.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, because I'm for sure not doing the math.
Like, here's your homework, Caleb.
Yeah, you get to insert.
He thought he was getting away with doing
in.
nothing. Yeah,
You get to insert yourself in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times at least. But what I was gonna say is like story and writing, that always confuses me because I don't know. I always have to ask him every time I'm on the show, like how to separate those two. Do you remember the separation of those, or for our means on this one, do you want to put them together?
So they're writing, when they do like the writing, they're talking about like dialogue, stuff like that. A lot of the script and the actual script, not so much the plot and summary of the movies, but they're going over like, basically like the interaction of the character interaction and stuff like that when they're doing their writing. So a lot of the dialogues and stuff.
So what about story? So story, just the overall story, I guess, then?
Yeah, the overall story. I guess that would be more like, yeah, just basically what you read.
All right. Well, then I gotta know. Let's just dig into it. What was your rating for story?
So, for the story, and see, dang it, I joined them for this episode when they did it, so I wanted to see what my original scores were. But for the story, I actually went with a 94.
Do you want me to tell you mine, or do you want to just
Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
My in the moment story is 75 because I will justify this because I feel like I've always wondered this about their format, their old format, is if they should have to like say what their like overall grade is and then justify everything as they go. But I will say my justification for this low story grade, and spoiler alert, writing is also going to get a fairly low score too, because I was trying to think of a good analogy today for this movie, because here's what's real crazy. My personal grade is still really high for this, but this movie is kind of like if you're playing Tetris and you get the square block and you have a corner open for that square block to go in, you're like, yes, I can put this piece here, and as long as I at least get like another square or maybe like 2 straight lines, I can put it over there, and it's going to be exactly what it needs to be, so that when that last straight line piece comes in, Avengers Endgame, and goes down and evaporates all the lines, then this building block will have been there, and it'll be gone, but no one will really notice it. And this movie was like, it was a good movie, but it was nothing, in my opinion, until the end. Like, it had a little bit towards the middle, or I'm sorry, a little bit towards the beginning, and a little bit of a lot towards the end. But then the rest was kind of like, because of Mysterio kind of being like literally doing nothing the whole time, and then knowing it, watching it the second time around, I'm like, oh, nothing is happening right now. Like, this is crazy that I'm watching this.
I think for me, my justification for my high grade is that, so did you ever see like the Tobey Maguire movies, the Spider-Man movies?
Yes, I did. And by the way, I'm going to bring this around and have a very unpopular opinion about the Amazing Spider-Man later.
Okay. So what I like what the MCU's done with Spider-Man is that they kind of speed through a lot of the things that we've already seen. And I feel like we get kind of their version of Spider-Man not wanting to be Spider-Man anymore. He just wants to be a regular kid. Just kind of like how Tobey Maguire was in the second Spider-Man with Doc Ock. He in this one, Tom Holland's character wants to, just be a regular kid. But I mean, he not to the lengths of like losing his powers. He does kind of like lose his, as they call it, the Peter Tingle. But like, I don't know. like it. I gave it that high grade because, for me, that's that story, or not that story, but that's his like hurdle that he's trying to overcome, trying to live up to expectations. They kind of give it something else that the other movies didn't, which is him trying to live up to and fill somebody else's shoes that, you know, he realizes he just has to step in and be his own man kind of thing. So I think that's why I gave it to that. One thing that I was talking to Donnie over at Adulting with Donnie, and he was saying that he feels it's very much like Iron Man 3. So he thinks that the story-wise it kind of lacks. But I didn't see it that way until he pointed that out. But for me, I mean, I think the story is good. I really enjoy it. To me, it's just different. It's, you know.
No, listen, you actually just helped bump up honestly, this is how I think we should have done it. We should have given story and writing grade immediately. And then, because I feel like those two kind of like intertwine with each other. But I will just say you have moved mine up, my writing up to 75 as well. And I'm going to tell you, it's because like the thing that made me, what's crazy is the thing that gave me a lower opinion of this movie was my wife, Beth, has never seen The Amazing Spider-Man, either of the Andrew Garfield movies. So we watched the first one really recently, like within the past like week or two. And one thing that I really did not expect to enjoy about that movie, like I actually like it a lot, that first one, because they weren't trying to, and by the way, I think this is what the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man had going for them too. They weren't trying to fit themselves into a larger like tapestry of a story. Like this could only be just like one singular story that didn't need to like go just anywhere Spider-Man. Or do anything or didn't. What's that?
Like it's just Spider-Man. You're not trying to, you know, here's this one speck of sand in this vast picture of, you know, all these other superheroes and stuff. No, yeah. I think
it really it lent a lot to like liking those characters a lot more and getting to know them a lot more than you got to in this one, because there was stuff like the Peter Tingle that never really got explained until the end that he was having problems with it. It was just kind of implied. And that was the thing that I did not enjoy about a lot of this movie is like you as someone who likes the MCU overall, I love this movie because I already have the context to it. And not that this necessarily needed to stand alone, but like you had to have a lot of knowledge going into it. And then you also had to make a lot of logical leaps because they were just like, listen, we're going to give you a little bit of information that you're going to have to really expand upon because we don't have time to do that. So here's that information. Take it when you can get it and move on, and just know that we've explained the thing that you didn't understand from earlier. Because one of the first things I wrote down was, what is the point of Peter having the Spidey sense if he can't tell if anyone's bad or good or anything bad or whatever? Because like in the first part of the movie, like things are happening and he's not able to tell what's going on at all. But then later he's like, oh, I've got this tingle. I can tell this, you know, what's his fit? Mysterio is close. And it's like, all right, bro. But then at the very end, that's when May is like, oh yeah, you said your Peter Tingle wasn't doing what it ought to do. Like, okay, thank you for explaining at the end of the movie what was going on for the whole movie. Or maybe I just missed it at the beginning. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I like that too. I mean, I for me personally, I like when a movie or when a movie kind of does give that further understanding of like the character. One thing that I remember talking about with Caleb and Rose on another episode was like for Into the Spider-Verse, like always wondering how Spider-Man can control like sticking to things and like, you know, not sticking to things. And I think on there they're just like, you know, relax, like just tell yourself to not stick, basically, kind of. I don't know. And it was like, oh man, I never knew that. Like that was just something like, oh cool, just gives you a little more understanding of the character. So I do appreciate when a movie can do something like that.
Go ahead.
No. I didn't have anything. Sorry, I have to choose something different than so it doesn't sound like I'm going to say something.
I think. Well, it makes sense. I mean, that I have, sadly, I have not seen Into the Spider-Verse yet, but it is on my agenda to see immediately. But that makes sense, by the way, about spider, because like you look at a spider walking across the ground, like it's not like my feet are stuck. It just does what it's got to do. I think my thing more was like there was the Peter Tingle thing that, Aunt May mentioned something at the end about like, oh, you said there was something wrong with it. And then the thing too that made me just kind of like roll my eyes is like, all of a sudden we were supposed to feel bad for Flash because his mom didn't show up to pick him up when they were, at the airport or whatever. I'm like, don't try and shortcut your way into sympathy for this kid. Like, this is a freaking, you were trying to hack and I can see the freaking code. Stop it.
Yeah. One part, because it does sound like we're in the writing. I think we're in the writing section. I'm not sure. I
would say, yeah, but I think they all merge.
Okay. Yeah. One thing that I liked was, or one of the parts or dialogues that I liked really much from this movie is the one between Pete and Happy when they're in that jet, and it was like super heartwarming because it's one of those where like he's getting vulnerable and he's talking to Happy and like I can't live up to this reputation I'm supposed to live up to, and it takes Happy like telling him like, dude, you're not going to, like, nobody's ever going to, you just gotta, and I just loved it. Like, I'm not gonna go into that whole dialogue there, but it was one of those things where I loved that writing, I loved that dialogue, and that interaction between those two. It just it makes their or it makes like Peter's, which I guess later on in the character development section, it makes that so much more, in my opinion, so much more, I don't know, earned, I guess, because it wasn't just from him, like it was somebody else helping him. And again, I know I've mentioned this so many times, both on my show and on the All Bros, but like I love that about Marvel is that they help, or they get viewers and fans to connect with these characters in a way that other comic books and superhero shows and stuff don't, is by making them vulnerable, making them human. And it's like that was that human moment. There's never I don't think there's somebody out there that can ever say that like, yeah, I don't ever need help or need to talk to. I mean, somebody's always going to need somebody to talk to, or and I like that. That's probably one of my favorite parts of the whole movie.
That was for sure, I would say, maybe the best part of the whole movie. No one can ever say that Marvel does not know how to cast. Like Marvel, one thing they do impeccably across the board is cast people in these roles. Like even the ones that people find controversial, like your Captain Marvels or whatever. Like they don't miss. So they don't. Yeah. Well, I say they don't miss, but like. All right. So wait, what was your? Because I feel like we are just like rapidly going to character development. But what was your score for writing?
My writing, I gave a 90, so it was slightly smaller or lower than the story. But I kind of actually, after like thinking about that scene more, I kind of want to go up. So I'm gonna change it because you know what, we're running this show right now, so I'm actually gonna change it to a 93.
Ooh. All right. So, and what did you give? What are you giving acting?
The acting, I'm actually gonna give a 92. 90, like, so not 92, but I'm gonna give a 90. Because that's something that I think that, like how you're saying, I feel that Disney, well, MCU and Disney do really well at is the casting. Even background actors, like Flash, I know he's kind of weird. He's a weird character, but he like I don't know. There's something about that actor, like it still doesn't miss for me. It doesn't feel like, oh, this is some bad acting. Like, no, I still feel like the way that he is, even Ned and all them, like they just fit the vibe that they're trying to hit with this kind of movie and this genre. So for me, I'm gonna go with 90. It is slightly lower, but that number doesn't really reflect how I feel about the casting overall, just because I'm not trying to give it to all of MCU. It's just this one movie, so I'm gonna stick with the 90.
Well, and I was listening to the episode that you and Taz did today, and I know that he was not a huge fan of the Flash character, but I also disagree. Like, I think that it doesn't have to just be like the big jock guy. Like, the big jock guy was a douche, and so is Flash.
Yeah.
So, or this Flash. I think I agree. Like, I like, don't get me wrong, I like him a lot for the character that he plays, but I just, again, feel like don't cheat me and make me try and feel sympathy for this guy. Like, oh, mother didn't show up.
Yeah.
Like, shut up. Like,
yeah. She sent her personal driver to go pick him up. Like, dude, come on.
By the way, can I tell you?
No, I get you.
I gave it a 90 as well. Just because, like, I think
Sweet.
that I like I like how everyone acted in this movie. I like how everyone acted in this movie. They all acted accordingly. No, yeah, I mean, I just have to reiterate what you said. Like, Marvel just does not miss. Like, when they find someone to be a character, whether it's foreground or background, like, they are going to do that the way that you would want them to do it. Like, just frontwards and backwards. Like, there is it's funny because there is, like, people are, what is it, everyone's all up in arms about who the next Wolverine might be, but no one even batted an eye after Tom Holland showed up and was like, hey, I'm your new Spider-Man. Like, everyone was unsure until he showed up in Civil War. Hello, everyone. And that was it.
Right.
We love that guy. So, and he still does as great a job as he's always done. By the way, forgot how young he was supposed to play. 16. Relax, guy. No one's that ripped. Like, Crash should know that no one is that ripped unless he is wrestling every day forever.
I'm gonna agree with you on that, because I was like, hold on, at 16, I was definitely that ripped. But you added that little, you hit the soft spot for me, and you know how to get me some. Yes. Unless you're like wrestling every day, you're not going to be that ripped. Yeah, that's true, because he's like a nerd. It's like, I mean, how do you get that?
I mean, granted, he did get,
I don't know how you get that, like...
Tobey Maguire set up that, you get bit by a spider and then you can see without glasses and then you got a six-pack. So
right.
I guess that sort of explains it away, but that is not a normal 16-year-old.
And then you get to... Yeah, and then you get to also wrestle, pastime, WWE stars and whatnot. So, yeah,
dude,
exactly.
Can I just tell you, Bonesaw is ready is a phrase I say on a weekly basis. I love Randy Savage for that. So what did you think of character development? This one I'm very interested to see what your rating is. So
my character development, it mostly stems from that particular scene that I just mentioned. Say what anybody listening, say what you want. I am fully aware that I'm not being unbiased in these grades. Because Spider-Man is my all-time favorite superhero. He has been for as long as I can remember. But I judged it on that one particular scene. Again, how vulnerable, how much you can connect to the character. I mean, I can think of times in my life where I've definitely felt the same. Like, I've got to fill these shoes. I've got to, and, eventually talking to people that make you realize, like, don't be that person. Do you. Like, you do you. Be unique. Be indispensable. I'm thinking, like, maybe in terms of a career or anything like that. I went with a 90 again, because I think it was just a total turnaround on what he was, going from, like, I don't know if I want to be Spider-Man anymore. I don't know if I can do this, to going to, and then going to, like, you know what? I'm doing this. Like, I'm an Avenger kind of thing. Like, so I went with a 90. Again, I'm fully aware I'm not sounding very unbiased, but
listen, you do not have to apologize for anything. Like, I have made some of the wildest grades on this show imaginable, I think. So there is absolutely no need to justify yourself. You do whatever you want to do, Vic. Or sorry, Crash.
Yeah, we're running this. We're running this show. You're right.
So I will tell you, you helped me push my grade up, because my problem with it was that was a great, I gave it an 80. My problem is that, like, I think that from that moment going forward, like, you got to see, like, a slightly more than gradual raise in character development from Peter.
Mm-hmm.
But up until that point, there was no development almost at all. Like, he was the guy that he was at the beginning of the movie, almost up until maybe a few moments before that moment. But, like, it was, again, like, it was like static all the way through the movie. And I'm saying this like it's all negative, but I don't find it negative. Like, it just was, again, if you look at it as a 16-year-old and not a 22-year-old, which is what he looks like, then it makes more sense that he would be so, like, defiantly wanting to be who he was that whole time through it, just trying to be, like, the normal kid, like you were saying. But it seemed like there was, like, instead of character development, it seemed more like a character switch. Like, he just, like, flipped a switch, or a switch was flipped, and then they were like, all right, I'm not going to be a little kid anymore. I'm flipping the switch from child to man, and I'm going to put this here and taser webs, and I'm going to be able to fly, and now it's going to make this 3D printed, Spider-Man suit, which I enjoyed. But I'm like, it's like, and again, like, that part with him and Happy, like, Happy, I think I read a little piece of trivia that, like, in fact, if I can find it, I'm gonna read it again, because Happy is, I think, not only one of my favorite parts of that movie, I think he's one of my favorite parts of the MCU as a whole. Like, he's this weird other through line that honestly, he kind of, people are super going to disagree with this, but he is kind of like becoming the through line that Stan Lee was, now that Stan Lee is gone. You know what I mean? Like, he's that, rather than just be like a character in the background, he's like that weird bonding agent that kind of, like, brings everybody together in, like, a fun way, I guess. Let's see if I can find it.
Yeah. And you know what? Jon Favreau, like, he's become one of my favorite, like, I'm not one, like, how do I say this? I'm not one that, like, watches a movie because, oh, I like this director. I like, I follow directors or anything. But he is one that, like a producer and director that, if I find that he's, produced or directed a movie, I will actually watch it, because, I mean,
yes.
He basically started this whole thing with Iron Man. Definitely took a huge leap with, casting, like, Robert Downey Jr. for that. I don't know if you've seen the movie Chef.
I have. I saw it on a plane, and it was amazing. I couldn't believe that movie was better than I deserved to watch.
Yeah. Now, the first time I watched it, I was on a full stomach, and I was still like, dude, I would eat that. I would eat that food,
for sure,
all of it. It's a movie. I don't know how long you've been listening to our show, but on our 100th episode, Taz and I, we did our top 10 movies, and that actually made my top 3 movies. Like, that is one of my favorite movies ever. But Jon Favreau, like, his acting even is just, like, in my opinion, phenomenal in that scene too. Like, you know, I don't know. It's like he's like that. I feel like he's kind of the new Uncle Ben, and I hate saying that now because I hope they don't kill him off. But I feel like he's kind of like that Uncle Ben kind of thing. Like, you know, I think him telling Peter, like, yeah, don't be Tony, just be you. I feel like that's their great power. With great power comes great responsibility, like sequence. And then I hope that, oh Jesus, I don't want to jinx it, but still, like yeah.
Well, the trivia that I read was that Tom Holland just said he loved Happy Hogan and that he considered him one of the godfathers of the entire universe of like the Marvel universe. And can I just tell you too, because that saying Stan Lee reminded me, The Amazing Spider-Man starring Andrew Garfield has the best. I'm sorry. Well, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I know you're a Marvel MCU aficionado. It has the best Stan Lee cameo, I think maybe ever, because they're right in the middle of that fight, and he's just in the library, with his headphones on.
No, yeah,
dude, that was an amazing.
Yeah. There's only one that tops it, though.
Please.
There's only one, and actually, it's Deadpool. Stan Lee, he's in the strip club. He's the one that is announcing the girls.
That's true. Okay, you got me.
I think that's the only one that tops it for me personally. Anyways, you know, just nothing better than and now on the stage, Chastity. You know, it's just like awesome to hear. You know.
We miss you, Stan.
Yeah,
that was crazy because it wasn't until the end of that movie that I realized that was because they had the, you know, Rip Stan Lee and whoever it was like, oh, and I read it too. Like this was the first movie that did not have a Stan Lee cameo, which was very sad to realize as well.
Yeah.
Let's see. What are we
So
on
you went
now?
with an 80, you said, right? On that
I did.
We're on the effects.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you first what you thought of effects, because I have like varying opinions on this.
Okay. For me, the effects, I went with the 95. Only reason, well, not the only reason, but I loved, and I can't stress that enough. I loved the sequences where Mysterio is like, you know, doing all the illusions and stuff. That shit just like freaking blew my mind when I was seeing that for the first time. You know, I remember watching like the 90s Spider-Man cartoon, you know, him fighting Mysterio and stuff, and like the way that they brought it to life on the big screen in real life just fucking blew my mind. So that was one that like, jeez, I just loved it. I loved it. I mean, there was so much to, like, you know, even Spidey fighting the drones and stuff, like going through, you know, when he's in like that big old haze or whatever, like that was really awesome to see him, like, just, you know, thwipping through and everything, like, yeah. And yes, I said thwip. That is the coined sound for Spidey's web slinging, is thwip.
So I gave it a 90, and it's funny though, because I gave it a 90 because I remember, like, when I first, it's always hard to like do these shows because, like, I don't know whether you should, like, because sometimes, like, when or when the All Bros are doing like older movies, like, I'm like, should you be judging it by like the first time you saw it? Should you be judging it by the context of when it came out? Stuff like that. Like,
yeah.
The first time I saw this movie, like, I didn't know anything about it because, like most Marvel movies, I try and go in knowing as little as possible. So when, you know, Mysterio shows up to fight what seems to be Sandman, I was like pulling my face off. I'm like, I cannot believe this is happening. Like, this is amazing. I couldn't believe any of it was happening. It was so good. It was just bananas. But watching It's funny because watching it through the second time, though, like knowing that it all was fake immediately, I don't know if it's because my brain knew that the twist was going to be that none of it was real or what, but it did seem like a little like, okay, so this is what I meant to say about, I'm going to tie this in with acting a little bit too. Jake Gyllenhaal,
Okay.
the first time I watched this movie, he did amazing. Like, I really thought he was from another dimension. I really thought he came there to, like, they got me hook, line, and sinker. Like, in that bar scene, when they pulled down the hologram, I was like almost in tears. I was like, no, this can't be. He was supposed to be a good guy. This time around, though, like, he seemed so much cheesier. Like, he seemed like someone who was just, he seemed more like someone pretending to be a superhero, and the quote unquote villains, the elementals, they seemed very real, obviously, but like compared to what we've seen in the other movies, they looked like cheesier, but not, this is weird because this is effects, but it's not necessarily effects of the movie, it's effects in the movie. Like does that make sense? Like,
yeah.
Like,
no, it totally
like
does.
He knew what
I feel like
monsters and stuff looked like that he was supposed to be fighting, but like since it wasn't an actual thing, it was just kind of like, it looked more like a video game villain. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think I understand what you're saying. You're thinking because like that these are supposed to be illusions and whatnot, like that he's created. Your brain is like on the second time watching is like, oh, that doesn't look so real. Like, how could somebody think that's real? Kind of thing. Is that what you're saying? Like, you're
not as, I mean, listen, if you're seeing something push a Ferris wheel over, you're like, hold on a second. But like, I don't know, just I think knowing the twist and just know, like, even though like things like the Chitauri and stuff like were kind of a little bit faceless, like that was the thing about all of like the the villains in the MCU up to that point, they were like, they seemed real. You know what I mean? Like they seemed like they would talk to you about something if they had to, where these elementals like seemed way so far out of left field for what an MCU movie was normally doing, that it was like the first time I watched it, it was just so off balance that I was just like, huh, who cares? It's a Spider-Man movie. It's Mysterio. This is crazy. He's a good guy. What's this all about? And then watching it again, like knowing everything, you're like, all right, now that I have a beat, by the way, it also made sense why, what's his face? Nick Fury did not cotton to any of this until, it was revealed that he was in fact not Nick Fury.
right.
So yeah, I don't know. It was, I don't know where I was going with all that. I thought the effects were good, but it was just, I don't know. I don't know if I'm ever going to explain it super correctly, but it's, I liked it. This was a good movie.
Yeah. No, I agree. Let's see. Yeah, the effects, I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed the effects, honestly. Like, I mean, it's these are superhero movies, so it's like, you kind of have to expect some pretty, like, far out, stuff, and, it's kind of hard to make something like that, not seem so, I don't know, real, but I mean... even like seeing the water elemental, who like seeing that on the trailers and stuff, I was thinking like, oh cool, we're gonna get a different villain and stuff, and I just it just looked pretty good, considering like I'm thinking of, yes, I've wasted my life, or a part of my life, watching Avatar: The Last Airbender movie, and seeing how they did their water bending. Like, they should take some notes from this, and they can get some fucking good, ideas, I'm sure, on how to make water bending at least look pretty cool and realistic. So I mean, I really liked how it turned out, personally.
I would say it looked very real but off, and then once you had like that scene with Spider-Man going into the little cyclone of drones and jumping around and tying them all together and stuff, weirdly enough, that like in my mind looked more real. Like, I know none of it was real, but like you're like, oh, okay, now I'm actually seeing what's actually happening. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like it seems off, but it's so big and giant, and like, you know, it looks like it's crushing the city, that like, why would you be a person looking at that and go, you know what, this looks a little off? But you know, just watching a movie, you're like, you're already suspending disbelief. So I'm not saying like, it didn't look like a real water monster. I'm not saying that at all. So my belief has been suspended. But yeah, it was something about like seeing once he finally was like, all right, I'm going to do, because you look at like those nightmare sequences with him, like those looked way more real, I think, than any of those elementals did. Like it was actually crazy how much more real those looked. Because that looked like a genuine, like Batman and Scarecrow nightmare scene.
That did, yeah. No, that's true. No, I agree.
By the way, can I just tell you that alone? You know what? I'm bumping my grade up to 95 just for those nightmare scenes. I can't believe I almost forgot about it, because those were so well done. And like at the very last one, when he's going down the hallway and he has to like, you know, use the force to do what he's got to do, like that was the best way I feel like they could have like on film represented his Spidey sense. Like that was the best way to show it, of like, you know what this hallway is, but you know what he's actually seeing, and he's got to use his Peter tingle to be able to get through there and get to Mysterio. So I liked it a lot.
Oh yeah. All right, let's see. We got music next, and that's out of 10. Let's see.
You gave it a 10?
Go ahead. You go first.
I was gonna say
no. I'm sorry. I'm saying it's out of 10. So, you go first though. You go ahead.
I gave it a 9 only because it did everything that MCU music should do, and the only time that I noticed it was when he was on the plane with Happy, and you see the thing open up and you hear the like Avengers theme start to play a little bit, and you get your own Peter tingle, and you're like, oh, here it comes, we're about to do the thing. And that was it. Like it's always the Marvel movies, I think, started off with kind of like weaker music, and kind of they kind of forced themselves into the zeitgeist, because it didn't really have memorable music to start with, and then they kind of were like, no, this music's memorable, and we will make you know that it's memorable by forcing it down your throat.
well, one thing, and just to this kind of goes into like ongoing MCU projects and stuff. But one thing that MCU has been doing that I've noticed is they've been giving a lot of their characters themed music.
Yes.
Per se. So like at the beginning, like you said, they didn't. Music wasn't like the scores anyways. They weren't anything to like write home about. I mean, you had the iconic Avengers theme song and everything, but as you go in, like, later on in the films, especially like the team up films, when you're about to see Cap, because you're starting to hear hints of his music in there. Same thing in the shows and stuff too. Every time they would, like in Falcon and Winter Soldier, you kind of starting to get, these themes to these characters, which I really like. And just like you said, it does exactly that. I think it's starting to set up like that theme for Peter, and it does keep you in that vibe. So I did go with a 9, like yourself.
Yeah, I think it's a good.
The music was, yeah.
I mean, it was good. It was as good as it possibly could be, I think, without giving it a 10. So it was not as good as it possibly could be. It was almost.
True. Though playing AC/DC there, that makes me want to go up, but I'm not going to. I'm just gonna leave it. I love AC/DC.
Again, that's a little bit of a cheat code. You're cheating a little bit, okay? Like, hey, relax. We get what's happening here. You don't have to show us some Iron Man stuff.
Right.
All right. So what do we got left? Costumes? Is that right?
We got costumes. Yes, sir. Costumes, and then personal grade is gonna be after that.
I'll give mine at first if you like, because mine's gonna be good.
Go for it. Go for it.
Mine is 10. Dude, Marvel at this point, they're 10 out of 10 forever. Like, their costumes are where it's at. Like, so good that part of the trivia that I read for this movie was that Jake Gyllenhaal there was a lot of scenes where he did not have to wear that suit, but he said that he just genuinely liked wearing it and just wanted to be in that suit. So his suit looked awesome. Like, it looked amazing.
Yeah. One thing I do love about the MCU is that they managed to make these costumes look so like when they get when they do like their comic accurate costumes, they look pretty cool, and they do it in a way that like they tweak them in a way, I should say, that it looks realistic. And I like that they kept the little eyeballs that he kind of has. That's something that's like iconic for him in comics and cartoons and stuff. Spidey's, I loved his suit that he made, like how it was more like black and red, because that's what it actually is in the comics. I know it looks blue, but that's like that comic black where they use like hints of blue to like, it just looked freaking awesome. I'm with you there on a 10 for the costumes. It's their costumes are just they can't go wrong with any of the stuff that they do. I'm pretty sure I gasp every time that I see them. From WandaVision, Black Widow, all those movies and shows. This was just another example of how good of a job they do with all this stuff. So.
Absolutely. I cannot agree more. If you don't agree with us, watch Loki. And if you think that a classic Loki suit cannot look good, you are proven wrong in that show.
Yeah, absolutely. All
right, so here we go with personal grades.
Our personal grade.
Oh. Yeah. All right, you go first this time, because I think I'm going to surprise you.
All right. For my personal grade, I am going with a 98 on this one. Huge portion of that is because, again, it's Spidey, but a lot of it too does go to the story of it all. I love the connectability, basically, that I can feel with that. Again, something that Marvel has been doing for years, making their characters more I feel like you can connect to them more. I felt that in this movie. Costumes, like we were just talking about right now, fucking killed it. This is a movie that I enjoy so much, and I don't know, it's just one where I enjoyed watching Peter kind of step into that superhero role that he does at the end after talking to Happy and everything. So this is a 98 for me. I rarely give, even on my own show, we go out of 10 for all of our categories. I think I've rarely given a 10 for anything. But this is as close as I can get to 100 without without being just too much of a fanboy.
All right, maybe I have to change mine a little bit, cause I did just go. But I'm gonna set up why I gave it this, and then I'm gonna tell you what I gave it. If I was grading this as just a movie by itself, then it probably wouldn't have gotten this grade. As a sequel, it's kind of like, I don't know, like I would be like, all right, I see what you're doing, but what's gonna happen in the third one? But when you look at what this movie really is, which is a giant, or it's a piece of a giant puzzle that has like slowly been put together before our eyes, like you cannot help but like be excited from beginning to end watching this movie, because no matter what happens, like that this is going to be leading to the next crazy thing, and then crazy things will be happening in this movie as well. I gave this movie a 100 for my personal grade, because Like it is so cool. Like never in my wildest dreams as a child did I ever think that I would get to see anything like this. Like when the movie Civil War came out, because I was not big in any of the comics. Like I am Johnny come lately on all of this. So I read the comics, or I read the comic for Civil War before I knew what the movie was going to be, and I was like, they're not going to be able to do any of this. Like, how are they going to make this a story? And the way that just by the way, from what they took from that book and then made it into that movie and fit it into the cinematic universe as it stood, like, I don't see how you can't, like, it is as close to comic books coming to life as possible. Like, I don't know that I would rate every single MCU movie 100, but like, I also am a huge sucker for Spider-Man. Like, you're never going to convince me that there's a bad Spider-Man movie. Like, you can tell me there's bad aspects to it, even Spider-Man 3. I don't care what anybody says. I love that movie too. So it's 100 for me, and I don't feel any shame for that, even after what I said about the writing and the story.
Hey, don't feel any shame. Actually, I feel shame for not giving it 100, for giving it anything less, because everything that you said, I 100% agree on. I love all the Spider-Man movies. You know, they're great. I don't care what anyone says either. You know, I enjoy them. I enjoy other ones more than or some more than others, but still, they're great movies. They're entertaining.
And listen, you could look at this and be like, well, this is just a stepping stone movie to the next thing. But like the next step that they take after this, like we've already seen a little bit of that with Loki, and like now with No Way Home coming out soon, and whatever is going to be happening next year with Multiverse of Madness, and then whatever happens with WandaVision and all that. Like this movie, like people forget, like people talk about Loki being the thing that is like, oh, this is going to be the, you know, the next crazy step because now the multiverse is here. Like this was the movie that was like, hey, this is crazy because this dude, people aren't supposed to know who Peter Parker is. They're just not. So much so that he's going to go ask Doctor Strange to make people forget. So it's awesome. Dude, it's going to be amazing.
I can't wait at all. Oh man, like December cannot come soon enough. Like
no.
I fully intend on watching that movie. Like I just might take the day off to watch that movie.
I think you should. I'm not opposed to that.
Yeah. No, it's you know, I mean, unless I spring and you know, get me one of those VR headsets, and we get on board with that whole VR, you know, watching experience that Caleb's trying to get going. I'm probably gonna end up taking the day off just to watch that movie.
Yeah, that's gonna be. Do we know? Is that gonna? They aren't doing any more Disney Plus premiere things, are they?
As far as I know, they probably aren't, because I think Disney's got all their legal teams and stuff like writing some shit up, so that way they don't have to go through the mess that they went with, or the mess that they created with ScarJo.
Yes, that they created. Exactly.
Yeah, and I wanted to make sure that I phrased it that way. But you know, I don't know. Yeah, because Shang-Chi, that, you know, got an exclusive, you know, theater release. So I'd imagine that they're just trying to avoid that, like, in any way that they can. So
yeah, well,
but I don't.
Either way, like, listen, No Way Home. Listen, that's a movie you should not watch at your house first. Please go watch it in the theater if you're able to.
Yeah. My rule of thumb is like there's certain movies, like there are some movies that have come out that I've watched at home instead of on theaters. But like my girlfriend and I, we watched Godzilla vs. Kong at home first, and then as we were watching it in the middle of it, we were like, we've got to go watch this in theaters. So we like, I took her out to the movies and stuff. I was like, we're gonna go watch this, and we watched.
That's how I felt about Black Widow, actually.
Yeah. Yeah,
That was one
like
that should have been
there's
seen
some
in
movies
theaters.
that you just need to watch on a big screen. The explosions, the roars, everything. Like you need those.
Do you have like a movie that got away? Like the movie you had a chance to see on the big screen and you didn't? Because I've got one
Yeah,
that plagues me to this day.
I do. Bohemian Rhapsody.
Really? What about that
one,
movie?
You know, it's the music, like the music, the performing and all, like the performances and stuff that he does at the end. Like, that's one that I'm like, fuck, I should have seen that one in theaters. Like, you know, you have a movie that's about a performer and you need big sound, and it's something that like I don't think I got on the first time I watched it on my TV. Like, yeah, we have a speaker and stuff, but it's like that's not a big enough sound, you know, for that. And it's man.
The movie that I'm telling you, it plagues me to this very day. If we do this VR thing, the first movie I want to watch is Mad Max Fury Road, because that movie, I couldn't. When I watched it finally, I was like, I have cheated myself. I should have seen this on a screen as big as a football field.
Yeah. Yeah, those are definitely movies that, you know, you're kind of like, oh, I'll watch it when it comes out or something, or I've got time, and it's yeah.
You never do.
No.
Well, fella, I think we did it. Unless is there something else that we need to do here at the end, other than just flip everybody the double birds?
I think we should. No, I think I think we should definitely at least get our plugins going right here. You know, for our for where people could catch us at least. I'm sure, you know, Caleb and Rose would have given us that same courtesy.
Well,
so,
go for it.
I think we could do that for ourselves. So I do have both of our individual scores, and I'm sending them to Caleb right now. And I wrote down that these are individual scores because we refuse to do math. And boom, send. So he's got those now. So Caleb, aka the Watcher in this episode, will probably insert himself with the final scores.
And our final scores are...
The original All Bros score for Spider-Man Far From Home came to an 89.35, which was a B+. Crash and DJ gave the movie a 90.93 in total, which comes to an A-. Combining all of the scores together and doing that magic math brought Spider-Man Far From Home to an 89.20%, which is back down to a B+.
And that's what they were.
There we go. If it's lower than what it was originally, I'm going to flip my desk over and I'm going to demand a recount.
You know what? I purposely did not go and look at what the original ones were, because I didn't want to know. You know, I just wanted to go in and be like, I'm going to watch this movie again and see what happens. And yeah. I think good overall, though.
Yeah. All right. So where could they catch you at DJ?
You can find me and my wife Beth on the Untrained Eye. It is a podcast that you would love to listen to on wherever you're listening to podcasts now. And if you want to find us on the internet, anywhere, it's at Untrained iPod, EYEPOD, on any medium that you can think of. Thank you.
And then you can catch me on Crash and Taz Movie Cellar. We, much like Caleb and Rose, we pick a new movie each week. We rate it on some categories that we think make up a good movie. At the end of that, lands on our Cellar scale with a Cellar rating. We're a much more vulgar, like I said, rendition of this show. But still love the All Bros. I listen to all their episodes. You know, I love getting opinions from them. So on movies that we do, you guys can catch us though on Instagram. It's Crash and Taz Movie Cellar. It's Crash, the letter N, Taz Movie Cellar with underscores in between each word. So again, it's Crash and Taz Movie Cellar. Also on like TikTok, where Crashed has one. I do little previews and reminders of episodes that are up and coming. And then you can also listen to us on Spotify, Stitcher, Breaker, Amazon Music, and other platforms that you guys listen to your podcasts on. So yeah. I think we've done it though. So I think this is where we will leave it up to Caleb to take over and give everybody their final score, and then he can close it all off. So
No, we get to do our own thing. Do you do any good impressions of any cartoon characters or any impressions of anything? I only have one. I can do it. My precious, the hobbits.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a good one. Damn, that's probably what I would have gone for. Let me try for. We're doing a mouse video, so I guess that's logging off, y'all. Bye.
Bye-bye, Mickey. So long, Mick.
Bye, Goof. That's the All Bros, huh?
See ya.